Good evening, dear listener, as the world outside quiets and the stars begin their gentle watch. Settle into your cozy nook, let the day's worries drift away, and imagine a soft sea breeze. Not too cold, whispering over a distant shore. Tonight, we'll wander back to the age of exploration, a time when ships creaked under the weight of ambition. And sailors like you face terrors that linger in history's shadows. Picture a moonlit harbor, waves lapping against weathered wood, and the faint scent of salt and tar in the air. You're about to step into a story, not of heroes or conquests, but of ordinary souls, like you, who dared the sea and found it a place of quiet dread. You stand on a bustling dock in a Spanish port. Perhaps Palos or Seville, in the late 15th century. The year might be 1492, and the name Columbus hums through the crowd like a half-forgotten tune. Your boots scuff against splintered planks, slick with seaweed and spilled ale. Around you, merchants haggle over barrels of salted fish, and gulls scream overhead, their cries sharp against the dull roar of waves. The ship before you, a caravel, sways gently, its sails furled like a bird tucking in its wings. It's smaller than you'd imagined, barely a speck against the vast horizon. You've heard the tales, of gold, of new worlds, of glory, but there's a knot in your stomach, isn't there? The sea is calling, and you're not sure you like its voice. You're no nobleman, no scholar with maps and dreams. You're a weaver's son. Someone snores, another mutters prayers. You stare at the low ceiling, inches from your nose, and wonder what you've done. The air is thick, damp, and you swear you hear rats skittering in the dark. A sailor nearby, half-drunk, boasts of outrunning pirates last year. They'll get you before you blink, he says, then winks. You force a smile, but your heart races. There's a strange camaraderie forming, though, isn't there? You share a crust of bread with a boy from Cadiz, who confesses he joined to escape a debt. You tell him about your mother's rosary, and he nods like he understands. These moments, fleeting as they are, keep you grounded. But the sea is vast, and you're a speck upon it. The recruiter's promises feel flimsier now, like a joke told at your expense. Speaking of jokes, here's one. Why don't sailors play cards at sea? Because the deck's always shifting, literally. You chuckle softly. What lies beyond the next wave? The crew whispers of lands where rivers run with gold, but also of storms that shatter ships and beasts that swallow them whole. You push the thought away, clutching your rosary. History, you'll learn, is kind to the victors, but the sea keeps its own ledger. For now, you're just a sailor, young and untested, with no inkling of the trials ahead. Close your eyes, let the waves carry you. There's more to tell, and the night is long. The ship rocks beneath you, a cradle that refuses to soothe. You're a few days out from port now. And the world you knew, dusty streets, the chatter of markets, your mother's voice, feels like a dream you can't quite grasp. The sea is your reality, endless and indifferent. Its surface glinting under a sun that burns your skin despite that foul crocodile dung paste you finally tried. Smells worse than a barnyard, doesn't it? You can almost hear a modern dermatologist gasping in horror, but here, it's all you've got. The deck is your home, crowded with barrels, ropes, and men who already seem less like strangers. Their faces, weathered or boyish, are starting to stick in your mind, like characters in a story you're not sure you want to finish. You squeeze into the hold below deck, where the air is so thick you can taste it, sweat, mildew, and something sour you'd rather not name. The space is barely tall enough to stand in, and you're wedged between hammocks that sway like drunken spiders' webs. Your mat is damp, always damp, and the straw inside smells of mold. You try not to think about the rats you hear at night, their claws scratching just out of sight. One sailor, a wiry man named Diego, swears he saw a rat the size of a cat last night. It winked at me, he says, and you laugh, but it's a nervous sound. Rats on ships were no joke in 1492. Historical records show they devoured food stores and spread disease, silent saboteurs of voyages like yours. Your days are filled with the ship's rhythm. a relentless pulse of labor. You haul ropes until your palms blister, scrub the deck until your knees ache, and climb the rigging when the bosun barks. The sails snap above, hungry for wind. And you learn quickly that a loose knot can mean disaster. The officers watch you like hawks, their voices sharp as the whips they carry but rarely use. The captain, distant and cloaked in authority, is a shadow you glimpse on the quarterdeck, his eyes always on the horizon. You wonder what he sees there: land, riches, or just more water? The crew's gossip paints him as both genius and madman. And historians still argue whether men like Columbus were visionaries or reckless gamblers with other men's lives. There's a peculiar detail that sticks with you: the ship's cook. A gap-toothed man with a limp brews a foul tea from boiled leather scraps when the water starts to stink. Better than green barrels, he mutters. And you learn he means the slimy algae that grows in the drinking casks. You sip the leather tea, grimacing, and think of the clean tap water you'd kill for now. It's a small thing, but it gnaws at you, how every comfort you took for granted is gone. The cook's tea is no joke, though. It's a real practice from the era, a desperate bid to stretch supplies when voyages dragged on. The stench is your constant companion. Unwashed bodies, rotting food, the bilge water sloshing below, it's a perfume you can't escape. You try to breathe through your mouth, but it's no use. The crew doesn't seem to mind as much, or maybe they've just stopped noticing. You catch a whiff of yourself and wince. How did it come to this? A sailor named Juan, barely older than you, offers a weak grin. "Smell like a lord yet?" he asks. You snort, and for a moment, the weight lifts. But the hold at night, packed with snoring, coughing men, feels like a tomb. You lie awake, tracing the wood grain above, wondering how long you can stand it. The sea itself is a paradox, beautiful and cruel. By day, it sparkles, and you catch yourself staring, lulled by its vastness. At night, under a sky so thick with stars it feels like a weight, you feel small, insignificant. The waves whisper secrets you can't understand. And you're starting to see why sailors talk to the sea like it's alive. You're not there yet, but you're close. The wind carries a chill now, and you wrap your thin cloak tighter, remembering your mother's warning about catching cold. If only she knew the half of it. There's a joke circling the crew: why don't sailors bathe at sea? Because the ocean's too busy trying to drown them. It's grim, but you chuckle, and it feels good to laugh, even if it's fleeting. The truth is, fresh water is too precious to waste on washing. And you scramble, heart pounding. You're learning the ship's moods, but you're not ready for its anger. The stars vanish behind the clouds, and the deck feels less steady under your feet. You grip the ropes, salt stinging your eyes, and wonder what's coming. The sea's lullaby has turned into something else, and you're not sure you want to hear the next verse. The ship's sway is your world now, a rhythm you can't escape, like a heartbeat you don't trust. You're weeks into the voyage, and the sea stretches on, vast and unyielding, its waves curling like fingers that might pull you under. The air carries a sharp tang of salt, mingling with the ever-present stench of the hold, sweat, rot, and that cursed leather tea you're still forcing down. You can almost hear a modern barista wincing at the thought of serving that brew, but out here, it's a grim necessity. The deck is your stage, and you're learning its rules step by aching step, under a sun that seems to hate you. Your days are bound by routine, a tyranny of tasks that grind you down. You wake at dawn, the bosun's whistle piercing the fog in your head, and stumble to the deck. You scrub planks until your hands are raw, the wood slick with salt and grime. You haul ropes, heavy and coarse, until your shoulders scream. You climb the rigging to adjust sails, your fingers fumbling with knots as the wind snaps at your clothes. The officers bark orders: hoist this, secure that, and you obey. Not because you want to, but because hesitation means a lash or worse. The historical reality is stark. On ships of the 1490s, discipline was ironclad, and sailors were often treated as tools, not men. A misstep could cost the ship, and the crew paid the price. There's a peculiar ritual that catches your eye, something the older sailors do without fanfare. At dusk, they carve notches into a spare plank, one for each day at sea. Keeps the devil from counting us, one mutters, half serious. You're not sure if it's superstition or defiance, but you watch them. Their knives glinting in the fading light. It's a small act, but it feels like rebellion against the sea's endless claim on you. You think of modern apps tracking your steps or sleep. Imagine an app for surviving this, tallying days until you see land again. The thought almost makes you smile. The routine is relentless. But it's the monotony that gnaws at you. Every day blends into the next, a blur of ropes, sails, and the same faces. You share a glance with Juan, the boy from Cadiz, as you both scrub the deck. Ever think we're cleaning the sea's floor? He mutters, and you chuckle, though it's a tired sound. The joke's thin, but it's a lifeline. The crew's humor is like that, dry, dark, and necessary. Another sailor, Diego, joins in later, whispering, "Why don't we polish the waves next?" You roll your eyes, but the laughter helps, even if it fades fast. The work never stops. And neither does the watch. Your assigned night shifts now, standing at the bow, eyes straining into the dark. The sea is a void, black and restless. And you imagine shapes in the waves, things that shouldn't be there. The stars above are your only map, but they feel cold, distant. You clutch your mother's rosary, its beads worn smooth, and whisper a prayer. The officers don't care for your fears. They want the sails trimmed, the course held. You're learning their language, port, starboard, leeward, but it's the sea's voice that haunts you, a low hum that never quiets. There's a moment, though, that shakes you from the grind. One morning, the bosun calls you to repair a torn sail. You climb the mast, the wind tugging at you, and from up high, you see the ship as it truly is, a speck in an endless blue. The crew below looks small, their shouts faint. You're alone up here. And the vastness hits you hard. Historians still debate whether sailors of this era grasped the true scale of their voyages or simply buried their fears in work. You're not sure yourself. But the sight makes your chest tight. You focus on the needle, the thread, and the rough canvas, stitching as if your life depends on it, because it does. The crew's starting to fray at the edges. You notice it in the sharp words traded over a spilled bucket, the way Diego glares at an officer's back. The routine holds you together, but it's also a cage. You're trapped with these men. Their smells, their tempers, their stories. Juan tells you one night about his sister, how she'd laugh at him for signing on. You share a memory of your mother's bread, warm from the oven. And for a moment, you're both somewhere else. But the ship calls you back, always. The deck needs scrubbing, the ropes need hauling, and the sea doesn't care. As you lie in your hammock, the hold's damp air pressing against you, you hear the creak of wood and the distant slap of waves. The routine is your anchor, but it's also your chain. You're stronger now, your hands callous, your body leaner, but you're tired too, tired in a way sleep can't fix. The sea's beauty is fading, replaced by its weight. You think of that notched plank, each mark a day stolen from you. Why don't sailors count the stars? You wonder. Because they'd never stop. It's a weak joke, but it's yours, and it carries you into a fitful sleep. The ship rocking you like a child it might yet betray. The sea cradles you, but it's a cold embrace, its waves whispering threats beneath their gentle lap. You're deeper into the voyage now. And the ship feels smaller, a fragile shell against the ocean's vast hunger. The air is heavy with salt and the sour reek of the hold. Where you still choke down that leather scrap tea, remember the cook's gap-toothed grin as he stirred it? You trade a month's wages for a glass of clean water, the kind you'd find in a modern cafe. Sparkling and cold. But here, every sip is a compromise, and your stomach knows it too well. Hunger is your new companion, a gnawing ache that follows you from dawn to dusk. The ship's stores are dwindling, and the meals, if you can call them that, are meager. You're handed a biscuit so hard it could crack stone, its edges fuzzy with mold. You soak it in a thin broth, trying not to taste the weevils that wriggle inside. The salted pork, once a treat, is gone, and the cook mutters about stretching the last barrels of dried peas. You chew slowly, your jaw aching, and dream of apples, bread, anything that doesn't taste like despair. Historical records from the 1490s confirm this grim truth. Provisions on long voyages often ran low, and sailors survived on rations that would turn a modern stomach. There's an odd detail that lingers, something you notice during a rare moment of rest. The cook keeps a small cage of chickens, their feathers dull and eyes weary, tucked near the galley. "For the captain's table," he says, but you've seen him sneak an egg to a sick sailor, a quiet act of mercy. Eggs were a luxury, almost mythical, and you wonder how they taste, warm and soft, unlike the gritty slop you're eating. You think of modern grocery stores, shelves overflowing with food, and the thought is both comforting and cruel. Those chickens, clucking faintly, are a reminder of what you've lost. The crew feels it too, this hunger that sharpens tempers. You catch Diego snapping at Juan over a spilled cup, his voice jagged. "Starving makes us wolves," Juan mutters later, and you nod, feeling the same edge in yourself. You try to lighten the mood, your arms trembling, and scrub the deck, though your knees wobble. The boatswain's whistle is a lash of its own, driving you forward. You're learning the ship's quirks, how the sails catch the wind. The sea watches, indifferent, its waves glittering under a sun that offers no warmth. There's a moment that sticks, a glimpse of the past that feels too real. One night you're on watch, the stars sharp above, and Mateo tells you about the Great Famine of 1470 Spain, when people ate grass to survive. "We're luckier," he says, but his voice is thin. Historians still debate whether tales of past hardships emboldened sailors or simply numbed them to their own. You're not sure, but the story settles in you, heavy as the biscuit in your gut. You clutch your rosary, its beads a tether to something solid, and wonder how much longer you can go on like this. The deck is your world, but it's shrinking. You notice the crew's faces, gone now, their eyes hollow. Juan's jokes are rarer, and Diego's glare is sharper. You share what you can, a sip of water, a scrap of bread, but it's never enough. The chickens cluck on, a cruel reminder of the captain's full plate. You don't resent him, not yet, but the thought festers. Why don't sailors dream of feasts? You wonder. Because they'd wake up hungrier. It's a weak jest, but it keeps you sane, if only for a moment. As you lie in your hammock, the hold's damp air pressing close, you feel the ship sway, a lullaby turned sour. Hunger is a thief, stealing your strength, your hope. You think of home, of your mother's table, laden with food you didn't appreciate. The sea doesn't care about your regrets, though. It rolls on, endless, and you're just a speck, clinging to a ship that's starting to feel like a cage. You close your eyes, the ache in your belly a dull roar, and let the waves carry you toward a sleep that's never deep enough. The sea hums its endless song, a lullaby laced with menace, as the ship creaks beneath you like a tired beast. You're far from shore now, weeks blurring into a haze of hunger and toil, the horizon mocking you with its emptiness. The air is thick with salt and the sour tang of unwashed bodies, and that crocodile dung paste you slathered on, remember how it reeked? Hasn't spared you from the sun's bite. You'd give anything for a modern drugstore's aloe vera, cool and soothing, but here, you just grit your teeth and endure. The deck is your prison, the crew your reluctant kin, and something new is stalking you all, a shadow called scurvy. You notice it first in your mouth, a strange soreness in your gums, like you've chewed too much of that moldy biscuit. Your teeth feel loose, wobbling when you press your tongue against them, and a metallic taste lingers, sharp and unwelcome. You catch a glimpse in a polished tin one day. Your gums are swollen, purpled, bleeding at the edges. Diego, the wiry sailor, sees you wince and mutters, "Scurvy's got you, lad." His own mouth is a wreck, gaps where teeth once were, and you feel a chill that has nothing to do with the sea's wind. Scurvy was a grim reality of the age of exploration. Historical records note, claiming countless sailors who lacked fresh fruit or vegetables, their bodies starved of what we now call vitamin C. There's a peculiar detail that haunts you, the ship's surgeon. A dour man with ink-stained fingers carries a leather case of remedies that include mercury paste and willow bark. He swears chewing the bark helps, but it only makes your stomach churn. You try it once, spitting splinters, and think of modern pharmacies, their neat rows of supplements. The surgeon's tools are more butcher than healer, and you avoid him, clutching your rosary instead. His mercury paste, you learn later, was a common but useless treatment, a quirky footnote in the era's desperate medicine. The crew is fraying, scurvy tightening its grip. Juan, your friend from Cadiz, moves slower now, his face pale, his eyes dull. Feel like my bones are rusting, he says, trying to joke, but his voice cracks. You force a smile, whispering, "Why don't we trade scurvy for a storm?" It's a grim jest, but he nods, and for a moment, you're both still human. Another sailor, Mateo, isn't so lucky. His legs are spotted with bruises, and he can barely stand. You help him to his hammock, his weight heavy against you, and wonder who's next. The deck feels quieter, the crew's chatter muted by weakness. Your work drags on, though your body protests. You haul ropes, your arms trembling, and scrub the deck, though each stroke feels like lifting stone. The bosun's whistle is a distant sting, and you move through tasks like a ghost, your strength leaking away. The sails snap above, indifferent, and the sea rolls on, its waves a mocking mirror of your fatigue. You think of those chickens in the cook's cage, their eggs hoarded for the captain. A single orange, you muse, could save you all, but it's as mythical as gold. One evening you sit with Juan, sharing a scrap of biscuit too hard to break without soaking. He tells you of a sailor he knew, cured by drinking seawater mixed with herbs, a tale you doubt but cling to. Historians still debate whether such folk remedies offered hope or just prolonged suffering, their efficacy lost to time. You don't care about the truth, you just want to believe in something. Your gums bleed as you chew, and you hide it, not wanting Juan to see. The stars above are sharp, but they offer no answers, only a cold beauty that feels like betrayal. The hold is a tomb now. Its air thick with the moans of the sick. You lie in your hammock, the wood above inches from your face, and feel the ship's sway, a rhythm that once soothed you. Scurvy is a thief, stealing your body piece by piece, and you're scared, truly scared. You clutch your mother's rosary, its beads a lifeline, and whisper prayers you barely remember. Why don't sailors sing of scurvy? You think. Because no one wants to hear the tune. It's a weak joke, but it's yours, a flicker of defiance against the dark. As you drift toward sleep, the sea's hum fills your ears. A song without mercy. You think of home, of fruit stalls in the market, their colors vivid in your mind. The crew is fading, and you're not sure how much longer you can hold on. The ship carries you forward, toward what you don't know, land, death, or something worse. For now you close your eyes, letting the waves rock you, a sailor caught in a story that's writing itself. One bleeding day at a time. The sea's lullaby has turned feral, its waves snarling as the ship groans under their weight. You're adrift in a world of water, weeks from any shore. Your body weakened by hunger and scurvy's cruel grip. Those bleeding gums still ache, don't they? The air is heavy with salt and the sour stench of the hold, where the memory of that leather tea lingers like a bad dream. You trade your knife for a modern electrolyte drink, something to wash away the taste of despair, but here, you're at the mercy of the elements. The deck is your battlefield now, and a storm is brewing, its shadow darkening the horizon. You feel it before you see it, a shift in the air, a chill that bites deeper than usual. The sky, once a clear blue, is piling up with clouds, thick and gray as slate. The crew moves faster, their faces tight, as the boatswain shouts to reef the sails. You scramble up the rigging, your hands slippery with sweat despite the cold, and fumble with the heavy canvas. The wind howls, tugging at your clothes like a living thing, and the ship lurches, throwing you against the mast. Historical accounts of the 1490s describe storms as the great equalizers of the sea, sinking ships regardless of their captain's ambitions or crew's prayers. You're living that truth now, and it's terrifying. There's a strange detail that sticks with you, even in the chaos. An old sailor, his beard streaked with gray, ties a small wooden cross to the mast before the storm hits. "For San Telmo," he mutters, invoking the saint of sailors. You've seen the crew's superstitions before, those notches in the plank, the whispered prayers. But this feels different, a plea to something older than the sea itself. You think of modern weather apps, their neat radar maps, and how they'd be useless here, where the sky is your only warning. The cross sways as the wind rises, and you wonder if it's enough. The storm breaks at dusk, and it's like the world unravels. Rain lashes the deck cold and sharp, soaking you to the bone. Waves tower over the ship, their crests white with fury, and crash against the hull with a sound like thunder. You cling to the rigging, your fingers numb. As the ship pitches wildly, the crew shouts, their voices swallowed by the gale, and you catch Juan's eye, his face pale but determined. "Why don't storms take holidays?" he yells. And you force a laugh, though your heart's pounding. Another sailor, Diego, grips a rope nearby, muttering curses you can't hear. The humor's thin, but it's all you've got. The work is desperate now. You haul ropes, your arms burning, to secure the sails before they tear. The deck is a slick nightmare, and you slip, catching yourself on a barrel. The boatswain's whistle is lost in the wind. But his orders are clear: keep the ship afloat, or die trying. You pump water from the bilge, your shoulders screaming, as the hold floods with seawater. The ship groans, with straining. But the sight makes you clutch your mother's rosary, its beads slick with rain. You're not praying for salvation, not really, just for the dawn, for a chance to breathe again. The storm rages through the night, and you're exhausted, your body pushed beyond its limits. You tie yourself to the railing to stay aboard, the rope cutting into your waist. The crew's a shadow of itself, faces gaunt, eyes wild. Mateo, the quiet sailor, is missing, and you don't dare ask where he went. The sea's taken something from you all, even if you survive. Why don't sailors bet on storms? You think, a weak jest forming. Because the sea always wins. It's not funny, but it keeps you moving, one sodden step at a time. As dawn breaks, the storm weakens, its roar fading to a grumble. The sky is bruised, but the waves are lower, the ship's still afloat. You collapse on the deck, soaked and shivering, and Juan slumps beside you, his breath ragged. The cross on the mast is gone, washed away, and you wonder what that means. The crew's alive, mostly, but you're not the same. The sea's shown its teeth, and you've seen its heart. You close your eyes, the ship sway gentler now, and let the quiet pull you under, a sailor marked by a night you'll never forget. The sea lies quiet now, its surface a deceptive mirror. But you know better than to trust it after the storm's wrath. You're weeks deeper into this voyage, your body a map of aches, scurvy's bite in your gums, hunger's claw in your belly, and the memory of that crocodile dung paste still stinging your pride. The air is thick with salt, and the hold's familiar reek, where you dodge the cook's latest batch of leather tea. You'd kill for a modern smoothie, bursting with fruit, but here, you're just trying to survive the night. The deck is your world, and the crew, battered but breathing, huddles closer. Their eyes haunted by something new, whispers of sea monsters. You feel it in the air, a tension that wasn't there before. The storm shook you all, and now the crew's swapping tales in low voices, as if speaking too loud might summon something from the deep. Diego, his face gaunt, tells of a kraken, its tentacles thick as masts, that crushed a ship off Portugal. Juan, usually quick with a joke, just listens, his fingers tracing the rosary at his neck. You're skeptical, but the sea's vastness makes anything seem possible. Historical records from the 1490s show sailors genuinely feared such creatures, their maps marked with serpents and leviathans, blending myth with the terror of the unknown. There's a quirky detail that sticks with you. An old sailor, his hands gnarled as oak, keeps a shark's tooth tied around his neck, swearing it wards off the sea's devils. He calls it his bit of the beast. And you catch him rubbing it during watch, his eyes scanning the waves. You think of modern talismans, lucky charms or apps that promise safety, and how they'd seem as flimsy here as that tooth. But you don't mock him. You're starting to understand why men cling to such things. The tooth glints in the moonlight, and you wonder what else is out there, watching. The crew's fear seeps into the night watches. You're at the bow, the sea a black void below, and every ripple feels like a warning. The stars are sharp, but they don't guide you tonight. They just remind you how small you are. A splash breaks the silence, and you freeze, heart pounding. It's probably a fish, but your mind conjures tentacles, eyes, teeth. Diego, nearby, mutters, "Why don't monsters sleep?" You force a chuckle, whispering, "Because the sea's their bed." It's a weak jest, but it steadies you, if only for a moment. The crew's laughter is rarer now, each tale of monsters tightening the knot in your gut. Your work goes on, monster or no. You scrub the deck, your hands raw, and haul ropes, though your arms tremble from scurvy's drain. The boatswain's whistle cuts through the fog of fear, and you obey, tying knots with fingers that shake. The sails snap above, catching a wind that feels colder, sharper. You glance at the sea. Its surface smooth but hiding depths you can't fathom. The crew's quieter, their eyes darting to the horizon, and you wonder if they see something you don't. The ship creaks, a tired voice. And you pray it's the only sound you hear tonight. One evening, the old sailor with the shark's tooth tells a story that lingers. He speaks of a ship lost in 1487, its crew found drifting. Babbling of a beast with eyes like lanterns. Historians still debate whether such tales were madness, mirages, or glimpses of real creatures, giant squid, perhaps, or whales mistaken for monsters. You don't know what to believe, but the story clings to you, heavy as the damp air. You clutch your mother's rosary, its beads a tether to something human, and try to focus on the deck, the ropes. Anything but the sea's dark heart. The hold is a refuge and a trap, its air thick with the crew's breath and the faint moans of the sick. You lie in your hammock, the wood above inches from your face, and hear the waves, their rhythm no longer soothing. The crew's tales echo in your mind, krakens, serpents, things that shouldn't exist. Juan, in the hammock beside you, whispers, "Think we'll see one?" You don't answer, but you're scared, the kind of fear that settles in your bones. Why don't sailors name the monsters? You think. Because names make them real. It's a grim joke, but it's yours. A shield against the dark. As you drift toward sleep, the ship's sway feels like a warning, the seas hum a song with teeth. You think of home, of fields and firesides. Places where monsters were just stories. The crew's fear is yours now, and you're not sure how to shake it. The voyage stretches on, and the sea keeps its secrets, waiting. You close your eyes. The rosary warm in your hand, and let the night take you, a sailor lost in a story that's growing darker with every wave. The sea stretches before you, a vast, unblinking eye. Its surface calm but heavy with secrets. You're lost in the voyage now, weeks piling into a blur of aching limbs and whispered fears. Those tales of krakens still linger, don't they? Like a chill you can't shake? The air is thick with salt and the hold's sour stench, where the memory of that leather tea clings to your throat. You'd trade your rosary for a modern energy drink. Something to jolt you from this haze, but here, you're sinking into a new kind of terror, the madness of isolation. The deck is your cage, the crew your mirror. And the sea's endless nothing is starting to unravel you all. You feel it in the quiet moments, when the work slows and there's nothing but the slap of waves and the creak of wood. Your mind wanders. And that's dangerous. You stare at the horizon, waiting for a smudge of land that never comes, and the sameness gnaws at you. The crew's faces, Juan's weary grin, Diego's sharp glare, are too familiar. Their quirks grating. Diego's habit of humming off-key, once amusing, now sets your teeth on edge. You catch yourself snapping at Juan over a tangled rope, your voice harsher than you meant. And he just shrugs, too tired to argue. Historical records from the 1490s note that long voyages often bred discord, with isolation fueling tempers and strange behaviors among sailors. There's an odd detail that catches you. One sailor, a wiry man named Alonso, has taken to carving tiny ships from scraps of wood, his fingers trembling as he works. He lines them up along the deck's edge, whispering to them like they're alive. "My fleet," he calls them, and the crew laughs, but it's uneasy. You think of modern hobbies, scrolling apps, binge-watching shows, and how they'd be a lifeline here, something to anchor you. Alonso's ships, fragile and pointless, are his way of coping, but they make you wonder who's next to crack. You see him at night, rearranging his fleet under the stars, and it's hard to look away. The crew's unraveling in small ways. Diego argues with an officer over a spilled bucket, his voice loud enough to draw stares. Juan, usually quick to joke, spends hours staring at the sea, silent. You're not immune. You catch yourself talking to the sails one day, muttering about home. And stop, embarrassed. "Why don't we talk to the waves?" Juan asks later, catching you. You force a laugh, muttering, "Because they talk back." It's a weak jest, but it eases the tension. If only for a moment. Another sailor, Mateo, now back from his sickness, tells a grim joke. "Why don't sailors go mad?" Too late for that. You chuckle, but it's a hollow sound. Your work is a tether. But you don't need scholars to tell you it's real. You feel it too, the way the sea stretches your thoughts thin, like canvas worn to threads. You clutch your mother's rosary, its beads grounding you, and try to focus on the waves, their rhythm a fragile anchor. The hold is a pressure cooker, its air thick with the crew's breath and the faint groans of the sick. You lie in your hammock, the wood above inches from your face, and hear Diego's humming, now a jagged edge in the dark. Juan's silent, his hammock still, and you wonder what he's thinking. The crew's bickering is louder now, small slights turning into shouting matches. You're tired, not just in your body but in your soul, and the sea doesn't care. Why don't sailors count the days? You think. Because time's just another trap. It's a grim joke, but it's yours, a spark in the fog of your mind. As you drift toward sleep, the ship's sway feels like a warning. The seas hum a song that's starting to sound like laughter. You think of home, of crowded markets and warm hearths, places where silence was a choice. The crew's fraying, and you're not sure how much longer you can hold together. The voyage stretches on, and the sea's emptiness is a mirror, reflecting your fears back at you. You close your eyes, the rosary warm in your hand, and let the night take you, a sailor teetering on the edge of a story that's growing harder to tell. The sea is a thief, stealing your strength, your hope. And now your sense of direction, its endless waves mocking your fragile place in the world. You're deep into the voyage, a speck on a ship that feels smaller each day. Your body scarred by scurvy's bite and the storm's bruises. Those tales of krakens still echo, don't they, like a shadow in your dreams? The air is thick with salt and the hold's sour reek. Where you choke down that leather tea, its taste a grim reminder of how far you are from home. You'd trade your knife for a modern GPS, something to promise you're not lost forever, but here. You're at the mercy of the stars and a navigator who seems as uncertain as you. You watch him at dusk, the navigator, a lean man with eyes like chipped flint, hunched over his tools on the quarterdeck. He uses an astrolabe, its brass glinting faintly, and a quadrant, both crude and baffling to you. He mutters about angles and constellations, tracing the sky with a trembling finger. The crew depends on him, but you see the sweat on his brow, the way he double-checks his charts, their edges curling from damp. One misstep, one cloudy night, and you're all adrift, doomed to circle the sea until the ship gives out. Historical records from the 1490s highlight the peril of navigation in this era. Tools were imprecise, and a single error could strand a crew in uncharted waters. There's a peculiar detail that lingers. the navigator keeps a small hourglass, its sand trickling as he times his star readings. A ritual that feels both sacred and futile. He guards it like a relic, and you catch him whispering to it once, as if coaxing it to be true. You think of modern clocks, their digital precision, and how they'd laugh at this fragile thing. But here, that hourglass is the difference between hope and despair, and you're starting to see why men pray to sand and stars. Its soft hiss haunts you. A countdown you can't escape. The crew's trust in the navigator is fraying. Diego mutters about a ship he sailed on, lost for weeks because of a star-blind fool. Juan, quieter now, just watches the horizon, his face tight. You try to lighten the mood, whispering, "Why don't we steer by the moon?" Diego snorts, muttering, "Because it's fickle as a tavern maid." It's a thin jest, but it draws a smile from Juan, and that's enough for now. Another sailor, Mateo, joins in later, his voice low. "Why don't stars lie? They don't need to." You chuckle, but the fear lingers, sharp as the wind cutting across the deck. Your work grinds on, though your body protests. You scrub the deck, your hands raw from salt and rope, and climb the rigging, your scurvy-weakened limbs trembling. The boatswain's whistle is a distant prod, and you move through tasks like a man half asleep, your mind on the stars above. The sails snap, catching a wind that might be leading you nowhere, and the sea rolls on, its waves a mirror of your doubt. You glance at the navigator during a shift, his astrolabe catching the starlight, and wonder if he's guessing as much as you are. The ship creaks, a tired voice, and you pray it's not complaining about the course. One night you're on watch, the sky a tapestry of stars, when the navigator's hourglass tips over, spilling sand across the deck. He curses, scrambling to save it, and the crew's eyes turn sharp. It's a small thing, but it feels like an omen. And you clutch your mother's rosary, its beads warm in your hand. Historians still debate whether navigational errors in this era were due to flawed tools or human frailty. But you don't care about the why, you just want to see land again. The stars are beautiful, but they're cold, and you're starting to hate their silence. The hold is a pressure cooker, its air thick with the crew's breath and the faint moans of the sick. You lie in your hammock, the wood above inches from your face, and hear Alonso's muttering, his wooden ship still his obsession. The crew's whispers are louder now, questioning the navigator's skill, the captain's plan. You're tired, your body a shadow of itself, and the sea's vastness is a weight you can't shake. Why don't sailors trust the stars? You think. Because they've been lost too often. It's a grim joke, but it's yours, a flicker of clarity in the fog of fear. As you drift toward sleep, the ship's sway feels like a betrayal, the seas hum a song without a destination. You think of home, of fields under a sky you understood, where stars were just lights, not lifelines. The crew's doubt is yours now, and you're not sure how to fight it. The voyage stretches on, and the sea keeps its course, indifferent to your prayers. You close your eyes, the rosary grounding you, and let the night take you, a sailor adrift in a story that's writing itself in starlight and sand. The sea is a mirror of your unease, its waves rolling with a rhythm that feels like a pulse. Steady but threatening. You're far from the world you knew, lost in a voyage that's carved itself into your bones. Scurvy's ache, the storm's scars, and those whispered tales of monsters still cling. Don't they? The air is heavy with salt and the hold's sour tang. Where you force down that leather tea, its bitterness a cruel echo of your dwindling hope. You trade your boots for a modern compass, nodding toward the captain's cabin. The officer's glare silences him, but the damage is done. Others nod, their eyes dark. You try to ease the tension, whispering to Juan, "Why don't we mutiny against the rats first?" He forces a smile, muttering, "They'd win." It's a weak jest, but it's yours, and it keeps you both from sinking deeper. Later, Mateo adds a grim joke. "Why don't captains fear mutiny? They've got the only map." You chuckle, but the truth stings. Your work is a grind, each task heavier under the weight of the crew's mood. You scrub the deck, your hands blistered, and haul ropes, your scurvy-weakened arms trembling. The boatswain's whistle is a goad, but you move slower, your eyes on the crew, not the sails. The sea rolls on. Its waves indifferent to the storm brewing among you. You glance at the captain on the quarterdeck, his face unreadable, and wonder if he knows how close the knife is to his back. The ship creaks. A tired complaint, and you pray it's not echoing the crew's breaking point. One evening you're on watch, the stars cold above, when you overhear Diego and Pedro in the shadows. Their voices low but urgent. "If we don't see land soon," Diego says, "we take the ship." Pedro's knife glints as he nods. You freeze, your heart pounding, and slip away, unsure if you should warn someone or stay silent. Historians still debate whether mutinies in this era were driven by desperation or betrayal, but you don't need scrolls to know the danger. You clutch your rosary, its beads a lifeline, and try to focus on the sea, its hum a distraction from the crew's growing rage. The hold is a cauldron, its air thick with the crew's breath and the faint moans of the sick. You lie in your hammock, the wood above inches from your face, and hear Alonso's muttering, his wooden ship still his obsession. The crew's whispers are a chorus now, words like mutiny and land cutting through the dark. You're tired, your body a shadow, and the sea's vastness is a weight you can't shake. Why don't sailors trust their captains? You think. Because promises don't fill bellies. It's a grim joke, but it's yours, a shield against the fear that's settling in your chest. As you drift toward sleep, the ship's sway feels like a warning, the seas hum a song of unrest. You think of home, of markets and laughter, places where trust was a given, not a gamble. The crew's anger is yours now, even if you don't want it, and you're not sure how to stay clear of the storm that's coming. The voyage stretches on, and the sea watches, silent as ever. You close your eyes, the rosary warm in your hand, and let the night take you, a sailor caught in a story that's teetering on the edge of chaos. The sea rolls on, its waves a restless murmur, carrying you further from everything you once knew. You're a shadow of yourself now, etched by scurvy's cruel hand, the storm's lingering dread. And the mutinous whispers that hum like a fever, remember Diego's knife, glinting in the hold's dim light? The air is thick with salt and the hold's sour stench, where you choke down that leather tea. Its taste a bitter reminder of your fragility. You'd trade your cloak for a modern antibiotic, something to banish the fear that's creeping closer, because now, a new terror stalks the ship, disease. Festering in the damp, crowded quarters. You hear at first, a cough that cuts through the night, sharp and wet, from a sailor named Tomas, who lies in his hammock, his face slick with sweat. By morning, his fever's high, his eyes glassy, and the crew keeps their distance, their glances wary. You notice others coughing too, a low chorus in the hold, and your own throat feels raw. Though you tell yourself it's just the salt air. The ship's closeness is a trap, men packed like barrels, breathing the same stale air, sharing the same damp mats. Historical records from the 1490s describe disease as a silent killer on voyages, with fevers and infections spreading unchecked in the absence of medicine or hygiene. There's a peculiar detail that sticks with you. The ship's surgeon, that dour man with his mercury paste, burns a bundle of dried herbs in the hold, claiming it cleanses the air. The smoke stings your eyes, it's scent like charred rosemary, and you cough harder, wondering if it's helping or hurting. You think of modern air purifiers, their quiet hum, and how they'd be a miracle here, where every breath feels like a gamble. The surgeon's herbs are a ritual, a hope dressed in smoke, but you see the fear in his eyes, and it mirrors your own. The crew's on edge, disease sharpening their tempers. Diego snaps at Juan over a spilled cup, his voice a blade, and you step between them, your heart pounding. "Why don't we fight the fever instead?" You mutter, and Juan forces a grin, but Diego just glares. It's a weak jest, but it's yours, and it keeps the peace, if only for a moment. Later, Mateo, his strength returning, whispers a grim joke. "Why don't sailors get sick leave? The sea's a cruel master." You chuckle, but the sound's hollow, and you're all too aware of Tomas, now barely moving, his coughs weaker but no less chilling. Your work is a slog, each task heavier under the weight of fear. You scrub the deck, your hands trembling, and haul ropes, your scurvy-weakened body protesting. The boatswain's whistle is a faint prod. And you move through tasks like a man underwater, your eyes on the crew, not the sails. The sea rolls on, its waves indifferent to the sickness spreading below. You avoid the hold when you can. But there's no escape. Every cough follows you, a reminder of your own fragility. The ship creaks, a tired sigh, and you pray it's not mourning the men it's losing. One evening you're on watch. The stars cold and distant, when the surgeon tends to Tomas, his face grim. He mutters about ship fever, a term you don't fully grasp. But the crew's whispers fill in the gaps, men dying in their hammocks, bodies tossed to the sea. Historians still debate whether such fevers were typhus, influenza, or something else. Their cause is lost to time, but you don't need a name to feel the dread. You clutch your mother's rosary, its beads warm in your hand, and try to focus on the waves. Their rhythm a fragile shield against the fear that's settling in your chest. The hold is a graveyard now, its air thick with the crew's breath and the stench of sickness. You lie in your hammock, the wood above inches from your face, and hear Alonso's muttering, his wooden ship still his refuge. The crew's quieter, their eyes hollow, and you notice Juan coughing now. A dry rasp that makes your stomach twist. You're tired, your body a husk, and the sea's vastness is a weight you can't shake. Why don't sailors fear death? You think. Because it's already aboard. It's a grim joke, but it's yours, a spark in the darkness of your thoughts. As you drift toward sleep, the ship's sway feels like a cradle, but a cruel one, rocking you toward an uncertain fate. You think of home, of clean beds and warm broth, places where a cough was just a nuisance, not a sentence. The crew's fear is yours now, and you're not sure how to fight it. The voyage stretches on. And the sea watches, silent as the fever that's claiming you one by one. You close your eyes, the rosary grounding you, and let the night take you. A sailor caught in a story that's growing darker with every labored breath. The sea's hum is a faint promise now, its waves glinting with a hope you scarcely trust. You're battered by the voyage, scurvy's slow theft, the fever's creeping shadow, and the mutinous whispers that still linger, sharp as Diego's hidden knife. The air carries salt and the hold's sour reek. Where you force down that leather tea, its taste a grim tether to survival. You'd trade your rosary for a modern map app. Something to confirm the cry that's just shaken the crew. Land! The deck is alive with weary cheers, but as you squint at the horizon, the distant smudge of green brings not just relief but new fears, of hostile shores, treacherous reefs, and a salvation that might not be what it seems. You stand at the bow, the wind tugging your ragged cloak, and watch the land grow closer, its outline jagged with trees and cliffs. The crew's excitement is tempered by caution. You've heard tales of natives with poison arrows and coasts that swallow ships. Juan, his cough quieter today, grips the railing beside you, his eyes bright but wary. Diego, ever skeptical, mutters about more trouble than it's worth. The promise of land is a double-edged sword, and you feel its weight in your chest. Historical records from Columbus's 1492 voyage describe the crew's mix of joy and dread upon sighting the New World, unsure if they'd find riches or ruin. There's a quirky detail that catches you. The boatswain, a gruff man rarely seen without his whistle, pulls a small mirror from his pocket and signals the shore with flashes of sunlight. "Let's 'em know we're friendly," he says. But you wonder if it's more for the crew's morale than any distant eyes. You think of modern communication, texts, radios, and how they'd ease the uncertainty here, where a mirror's glint is your only voice. The boatswain's mirror winks in the sun, and you hope it's enough to keep the peace, whatever lies ahead. The crew's mood is fragile, hope and fear wrestling in their faces. You try to lighten the moment, whispering to Juan, "Why don't we swim to shore?" He snorts, muttering, "With my luck I'd drown first." It's a weak jest. But it draws a smile, and that's something. Later, Matteo, his strength fading again, adds a grim joke. Why don't natives love visitors? We're not exactly charming. You chuckle. One moment sticks with you. As the ship nears a reef, the navigator, his hourglass long since abandoned, shouts warnings, his voice hoarse. The crew scrambles to steer clear. And you feel the ship shudder as it grazes coral, a sickening scrape. Historians still debate whether Columbus's crews were reckless or simply unlucky in navigating uncharted coasts. But you don't care about the why, you just want to reach shore alive. You clutch your mother's rosary, its beads worn smooth, and focus on the task, hauling ropes to keep the ship steady. Your heart pounding. The hold is quieter now, the crew's chatter muted by the sight of land. You lie in your hammock, the wood above inches from your face, and hear Alonso's muttering. His wooden ship's still his world. Juan's cough is back, a soft rasp, and you pass him a sip of water, your hands shaking. The air's thick with hope and dread, and you're tired, your body a husk. Why don't sailors trust land? You think. Because it's just another sea in disguise. It's a grim joke, but it's yours, a spark in the fog of your fears. As you drift toward sleep. The ship's sway feels like a question, the seas hum a song of what's to come. You think of home, of solid ground and familiar faces, places where land was a given, not a gamble. The crew's hope is yours, but so is their fear, and you're not sure which will win. The voyage nears its next chapter, and the shore waits, silent and unknowable. You close your eyes. The rosary warm in your hand, and let the night take you, a sailor teetering on the edge of a story that's far from finished. The sea's gentle lap against the ship feels like a truce. But you know better than to trust it, not after the fevers, the mutinous whispers, and the reef's near-fatal scrape. Those shadows and the trees still haunt you, don't they? You're on land now. Or close to it, the shore a tangle of green and rock under a sky too bright for your weary eyes. The air is thick with the scent of wet earth and salt, a sharp change from the hold's sour reek. Where you left behind that cursed leather tee. You'd trade your knife for a modern tent, something to shield you from this alien world, but here, you're stranded, a sailor out of your depth. Grappling with exhaustion and the uncertainty of survival. You step onto the beach, your boots sinking into sand that's warm and strangely soft, like walking on a dream. The crew spreads out. Some collapsing in the shade of palms, others scanning the trees for signs of life or danger. Juan, his cough quieter but still there, sits beside you, his face gaunt but alive with wonder. Diego, ever wary, clutches his knife, his eyes darting to every rustle. The land is beautiful, with its emerald canopy and the distant trill of birds, but it's also a stranger, and you feel its weight. Historical accounts from Columbus's 1492 landing describe the crew's awe at the New World, tempered by fear of its unknowns, natives, wildlife, or the land itself turning hostile. There's a quirky detail that catches you. One sailor, a young boy named Raphael, collects shells from the shore, stringing them into a necklace with a child's earnestness. "For my sister," he says. His voice soft, and you smile, though your heart aches. You think of modern souvenirs, postcards, fridge magnets, and how they'd pale next to these shells, each one a proof of survival. Raphael's necklace glints in the sun, a small act of hope in a world that feels too big, and you wonder if he'll ever see his sister again. The crew's relief is fragile, fraying under the strain of new fears. You try to lighten the mood, nudging Juan and whispering, "Why don't we build a castle with this sand?" He chuckles, muttering, "It'd sink faster than the ship." It's a weak jest, but it's yours, and it keeps you both grounded. Later, Matteo, his strength waning, adds a grim joke. "Why don't natives welcome us? We look like ghosts." You force a laugh. But the truth stings. Your crew is a ragged band, hollow-eyed and worn, and you're not sure what you'll find here, or what will find you. Your work shifts to survival now. You help gather wood for a fire, your arms trembling from scurvy's toll, and search for fresh water, your throat parched. The captain, his voice calmer but still firm, orders a small camp. And you hammer stakes into the earth, each blow a prayer for stability. The forest looms, its shadows deep, and you hear strange calls, birds, you hope, but your mind conjures worse. The sea's behind you, its waves a reminder of the journey that brought you here, and you're not sure if you're safer on land or not. The ship, anchored offshore, looks small. A relic of a life you're not ready to return to. One moment burns into you. As you fetch water from a stream, its flow clear and cold, you spot movement in the trees, a figure, human but unfamiliar. Watching you. You freeze, your heart pounding, and the figure vanishes, leaving only rustling leaves. Historians still debate whether early encounters with natives were marked by curiosity or immediate mistrust, but you don't need scrolls to feel the fear. You clutch your mother's rosary. Its beads warm in your hand, and hurry back to camp, the water sloshing in your bucket, your eyes scanning the trees. The camp is a fragile haven, its fire crackling under a sky thick with stars. You sit with Juan, sharing a handful of berries you found, their tartness a miracle after weeks of moldy biscuits. The crew's quieter, their faces lit by the flames. And you notice Diego sharpening his knife, his movements slow but deliberate. Raphael strings another shell, his fingers steady, and you envy his focus. You're tired, your body a husk. And the land's beauty is a mask for its dangers. Why don't sailors trust the shore? You think. Because it's just another kind of deep. It's a grim joke, but it's yours. A shield against the uncertainty pressing in. As you drift toward sleep, the fire's warmth a faint comfort, you hear the sea's distant hum, a song that's followed you even here. You think of home. Of fields and familiar paths, places where the ground didn't hide threats in every shadow. The crew's hope is yours, but so is their fear, and you're not sure how to navigate this new world. The voyage has brought you here, but the story's far from over. You close your eyes, the rosary grounding you, and let the night take you. A sailor stranded in a tale that's writing itself in sand and starlight. The shore's embrace is uneasy, its warm sand and rustling palms a fragile respite from the sea's cold grip. You're stranded in this alien world, your body a ledger of the voyage's toll, scurvy's lingering ache, the fever's faint echo, and the dread of those shadowed figures in the trees still watching. Aren't they? The air is thick with earth and salt, a far cry from the hold's sour stench, where you left behind that wretched leather tea. You'd trade your cloak for a modern first aid kit. Something to mend the wounds of body and soul, but here, you're forced to reflect on the cost of ambition, the price you and the crew have paid for this fleeting glimpse of a new land. You sit by the fire, its crackle a small defiance against the night, and watch the crew, their faces carved by hardship. Juan, his cough a soft rasp, stares into the flames, his hands idle for once. Diego, his knife now sheathed, scans the darkness, his jaw tight. Raphael, the boy with the shell necklace, sleeps curled like a child, his innocence a stark contrast to the scars you all carry. You feel it too, the weight of every storm, every hungry night, every whispered threat of mutiny. Historical accounts of Columbus's 1492 voyage note the staggering losses, men claimed by disease, sea, or despair, yet the survivors' stories often went untold, their sacrifices buried in the glory of discovery. There's a quirky detail that lingers. One sailor, an older man named Sancho, keeps a tattered book of psalms, its pages soft from years of handling. He reads aloud at dusk, his voice trembling but steady, as if the words can stitch the crew back together. You think of modern self-help apps, their soothing affirmations, and how they'd falter here, where faith and grit are all you have. Sancho's book, dog-eared and salt-stained, is a relic of hope. And you listen, though the words feel distant, like a song you've forgotten the tune to. The crew's spirit is threadbare, their earlier hope of land now tempered by reality. You try to lift the mood, nudging Juan and whispering, "Why don't we trade this beach for a tavern?" He forces a grin, muttering, "Only if they serve something better than seaweed." It's a weak jest, but it's yours. and it sparks a fleeting warmth. Later, Mateo, his eyes sunken, adds a grim joke. Why don't explorers retire? The sea won't let them. You chuckle. But the truth cuts deep. You're all bound to this journey, willing or not, and the cost is written in your hollowed faces. Your work on shore is relentless, a new kind of grind. You haul supplies from the ship, your arms trembling, and build shelters from palm fronds, your hands blistered. The captain, his voice steady but strained, urges haste, as if he senses the land's unease. You gather fruit, small, tart berries that sting your raw gums, but it's not enough to heal the crew's deeper wounds. The forest hums with life. Its calls both beautiful and menacing, and you move cautiously, your eyes on the trees. The sea's hum is distant now, but its lessons linger. Nothing is certain, not even this shore. One moment sears itself into you. As you repair a shelter, a sudden cry from Raphael pulls you to the beach. He's found a sailor's body, washed ashore. His face unrecognizable, but his cloak one you know, Tomas, lost to the fever weeks ago. The crew gathers, silent, and Sancho murmurs a psalm as you bury him in the sand. Historians still debate whether such losses were seen as inevitable or a failure of leadership, but you don't care about the why. You feel the absence, heavy as the earth you shovel. You clutch your mother's rosary, its beads a tether, and wonder how many more you'll lose before this ends. The camp is a fragile outpost, its fire a flickering heart. You sit with Juan, sharing a handful of berries, their juice a faint echo of home. Diego sharpens a stick now, his knife retired for the moment, and Raphael strings another shell. His fingers steady despite the day's grim find. You're exhausted, your body a husk, and the land's promise feels like a half-truth. Why don't sailors count their scars? You think. Because they'd never stop. It's a grim joke, but it's yours, a shield against the grief that's settling in your bones. As you drift toward sleep, the fire's warmth a thin comfort. You hear the sea's distant song, a reminder of the journey that brought you here. You think of home, of warm hearths and full tables, places where ambition was a story, not a sentence. The crew's losses are yours, and you're not sure how to carry them. The voyage has changed you, and the story's end is still unwritten. You close your eyes, the rosary warm in your hand. And let the night take you, a sailor marked by a cost that history will never fully name. The sea's song has softened, its waves a gentle murmur, carrying you toward a horizon that finally feels like home. You're sailing back now, the ship a weary companion bearing the marks of your journey, scurvy's slow ruin, the fever's faint echo, and the weight of Tomas's burial still etched in your heart. The air is thick with salt and the scent of weathered wood, a familiar embrace after the alien shore's fleeting touch. That leather tea is gone, replaced by fresh water from the new land, its taste a quiet victory. You trade nothing for this moment. Though a modern journal might help you hold on to the stories you've lived, tales that have changed you forever, a sailor returning, haunted yet whole, ready to whisper your truths into history's quiet pages. You stand at the ship's stern, the wind soft against your face, and watch the sea stretch behind you. Its vastness no longer a threat but a memory. Juan, his cough nearly gone, leans on the railing beside you, his eyes bright with the promise of home. Diego, his knife now just a tool, ties a final knot with steady hands, a rare peace in his gaze. Raphael, the boy with the shell necklace, clutches his treasure, humming a tune that feels like hope. You're not the same crew that left port. Your faces are leaner, your hands calloused, your souls heavier. But you've endured, bound by a story that's as much about survival as discovery. Historical accounts of Columbus's 1492 return note the crew's transformation, their tales shaping myths of the New World. But it's the unspoken losses, the quiet triumphs, that linger in your bones. There's a quirky detail that warms you. Sancho, the old sailor with his tattered psalm book, has taken to sketching crude maps on spare canvas, marking the lands you've seen with shaky lines. For my grandchildren, he says, his voice soft, and you smile, imagining those maps passed down, creased and cherished. You think of modern photo albums, their glossy pages, and how they'd pale next to Sancho's rough sketches, each line a proof of what you've survived. His canvas flutters in the breeze, a testament to the human need to leave a mark. And you feel a kinship with him, with all of them, as the ship sails on. The crew's mood is gentle now, a quiet tide of reflection. You nudge Juan, your voice low. Why don't we sail forever? He chuckles, his grin warm. Because home's got better ale. It's a soft jest, but it's yours, and it draws a laugh from Diego, a sound you hadn't realized you'd missed. Later, Mateo, his strength a steady flame, adds his own. Why don't sailors stay at sea? They miss their mother's scolding. You laugh, the sound mingling with the waves, and for a moment, the weight of the voyage lifts, leaving only the warmth of shared survival. The deck hums with these small connections, a crew no longer just enduring but remembering how to live. Your work is lighter now, a rhythm of maintenance as the ship cuts through the sea. You check the sails, your hands deft despite their scars, and hull ropes. Your arms stronger for all they've carried. The bosun's whistle is a familiar friend, guiding you through tasks with a steadiness that feels like trust. The sea is calm. Its waves a mirror of the sky's deepening blue, and you let yourself believe in the journey's end. The ship creaks, a voice you've come to love, and you pat its rail. A silent thank you for carrying you through storms and shadows. One moment settles in you, warm and clear, as the sun dips low, painting the sea in gold. Sancho gathers the crew for a final psalm. His voice, cracked but sure, rises, and you join in, your voice unsteady but earnest, a chorus of survivors under a sky thick with stars. Historians still debate whether such moments were faith or defiance, but you know the truth, it's both, a human cry against the sea's vast silence. You clutch your mother's rosary. Its beads smooth as memory, and feel the song root you, not just to this ship but to every soul who's dared the unknown. The hold is a haven now. Its air thick with the crew's breath but sweetened by hope. You lie in your hammock, the wood above a familiar friend, and hear Raphael's soft humming, a melody of shells and dreams. Juan's silence is peaceful, Diego's snores a quiet rhythm. You're weary, your body a map of courage, but the sea's hum is a lullaby, guiding you toward home. Why don't sailors forget their stories? You think. Because they're written in the stars. It's a gentle joke, but it's yours, a light to carry into the dark. Now you can close your eyes and let the currents of time take you away. Dear sailor, to a home where your tales will find their place, by hearths, in taverns, in the quiet margins of history. The sea has shaped you, but it's the warmth of those waiting, the promise of solid ground, that calls you now. You're returning, forever changed, your heart a ledger of loss and love. Sleep now, the rosary warm in your hand, and let the night cradle you. A sailor whose story will echo, soft and sure, through the ages.